Welcome, my beautiful kings and queens, to We Too Can Make It All Right Live. I am your host, Tara, queen to my Heavenly Father's throne. And
I'm Reggie Reg, a voice from the streets.
That's what's up. This show is for the people, where we speak on various topics. We do not hear you, we listen. There's a difference. There's zero tolerance for defamation to anyone's character. Speak facts, and we can sure enough talk. But before I get started, I want to share with my listeners how proud I am of all that made a difference on the election turnout, which was, very, very amazing. And to also dedicate this show to all the families that lost a loved one to the COVID-19. Our prayers are with those who are still fighting for their lives. Just know that this too shall pass, and we will see light that always outshadows darkness. So stay strong and encouraged. And moving on, Reg, tell the listeners about the king with us today.
Okay, we have a very special guest here with us today. I know him personally, but we're not going to get into that right now. It's about this young man that sits here in front of us. In 1974, I believe, he was wrongly convicted of a crime and spent the next 45 years in prison. But while in prison, he got a chance to get his GED in 1990. And now he's a living testament about what is possible after being wrongly convicted.
Wow. Amen. That's fly. Okay, and who is this man?
Oh, this is Malik Alla.
Mr. Allah, how are you, sir?
I'm very fine. Thank you.
It is a privilege and an honor for you to bless us today with this this message. I know it's going to be powerful for all the listeners. First and foremost, I guess we want to start by you letting the listeners know who you are. Who is Malik Alla?
Today,
well, I'm still trying to, navigate this new reality after 45 years, a little more than 45 years and 9 months. And basically trying to get a feel for what, what life is about, and how, like I said, how to navigate with the new technology. When I came to prison,
right,
they didn't have
we still
handheld
had
devices.
Right, we still had tokens and
right. So
we didn't even have cell phones, nothing.
No. And so I'm learning a lot of things as I go along, and with the help of people like Reggie and my family. And actually, in my spare time, I just doodle with the device,
right,
and try to make sure that I follow the instructions, or if I can't see my way through a particular situation, I'll just hit something that just shuts everything down.
So you just basically, like, probably, I would say 70% that are adjusting to technology, because there's a lot of people who would prefer, that old way of, doing things. But we all have to come to terms with, time is evolving, and we have to somewhat stay abreast about, what's going on. But what I want to ask you is, what was it that brought you into the corrections? What brought you there? What was it that
Well,
happened?
no, they say I committed a murder in
Wow.
1973.
Wow.
And I didn't commit the murder, but they weren't trying to hear that, because at the time I was, which I still am, a member of, I don't know if you ever heard of the Nation of Gods and Earths. I don't know if you ever heard of
Yes.
that.
That's part of, was that 5%?
Right.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
And so they were pretty, that in that era there was a lot of militancy going on, Black Panthers, the BLA, a lot of different movements, and they felt as though anybody that espouses, anything that, didn't suit the purposes of the government,
Right.
that we were considered,
A threat.
Yeah, a threat.
Wow.
Or troublemakers. So they would find ways to put charges on us. And, at that time, living in even, this was South Jamaica, but still I wasn't well-to-do, so it wasn't like I could hire a top-notch
Elite lawyer.
Right, so I had to go with, and at that time, they didn't allow legal aid to represent murder cases.
Right.
So they assigned me a counsel, but me and this counsel, actually, we didn't get along. And so I already could feel that I was going to get convicted anyway. So I basically asked this judge to allow me just to represent myself. Because it wasn't going to be, I knew the outcome wasn't going to be any different. And that was that. And so I went upstate, and I was always constantly filing
appeals,
briefs, right? Post conviction briefs,
right?
But in the meantime, in the interim, I was trying to get a feel for the criminal justice system and how it treated Black people, and it led me into a lot of different cases. And like I said, one of the main cases that it led me into, even though I had heard about the case, was the Dred Scott decision.
Oh, yes. That was in,
Powerful.
what was that? 1864?
No,
Yes.
1856.
56, okay,
Right.
1856, my bad.
And so it led me to that, and that case opened up my eyes to various other cases. But the thing was that I realized that from what I learned in school and actually reading the case is a lot more than what people, are being taught in schools.
Which I would say, it's sad, but a lot of our children, African American children, for that matter, they don't know a lot of what was contributed as far as our history is concerned, and the certain rights, as you say about the Dred Scott. That was basically dealing with the U.S. Constitution, and I'm wondering, like, when I did my research on it, it was basically, I guess the question I had for myself was, were we a part of that, supposed to be a part of it, or set apart from it? You know what I mean? Because it was just so much going on, especially back in slavery time, and when that Constitution was actually written, and the policies of it, and a lot of things that we see that we just don't even have rights, so to speak, and I think that was a backlash back in the 70s and 80s, before things got a little bit more advanced, where we really didn't know we had certain rights and standards. It was basically kept from us. So a lot of people were forced to stay confined for no reason. Because had they had the technology that they have now, and the difference in laws set in stone then, you probably wouldn't even went through all of that of 40-something years for something you didn't even do, you know?
Right, but the thing was, even in laws, one thing that became apparent to me, that in most instances, I don't say in every instance, but in most instances, if the courts don't want you to prevail, you're not going to prevail.
Right.
Regardless of what
They already had their mind made up.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. And so, because with all the things that I was filing, I used their laws. I'm pretty good. You know, I'm not college educated, but I consider myself pretty well read. And
but you know what? Let me just stop you right there. See that right there? Because I've heard people say that about I'm not college
educated.
College. Let me say this as a college graduate. College is just a way of teaching you things from a book aspect, but you are not able to even learn that or conjoin with that unless your mind is there. You understand? So it doesn't matter about the books. It's what's here. So I just want to stop you with that because I feel an intelligence is always starting with the mind versus, books. So, yeah. Continue, brother. Continue.
Okay. And so, and what I had done after I realized that regardless to what I put in, I mean, I studied a lot of cases. I used a lot of language from those cases, and I learned that by being in prison, when I made a brief or when I put together a brief, I always let the case law speak for me. I never said, put down, well, this is the way I see it.
Right.
I always went to a case law and found something in case law that said exactly what I wanted to say. But it didn't come from me. It came from a judge from a Supreme Court or, somebody that was what you call a constituent of the same judge that's sitting on the bench. So that means this is your brother judge saying this to you with regard to this issue that this man is raising.
Right.
He's saying that this particular paragraph says that it applies to him and he should be able to receive the benefit of this paragraph that one of your fellow judges had ruled. Regardless. They knocked me down, never gave me an opportunity. So I got to the point, I said, well, you know what? Let me see. I never was going to come to the conclusion that it was race, but at the same time, I said, maybe there was something that I overlooked. So while I was in prison, a judge came to hold a seminar in Greenhaven Correctional Facility. He had a class of, I guess it had to be about 30 inmates. And I didn't attend the class, but one of the inmates that attended the class matter of fact, the judge, after the presentation was over, he gave everybody a Black's Law Dictionary, a fifth edition of Black's Law Dictionary. And this inmate knew that I was into law. And so he said, you know what, I'm getting ready to go home. I'm going to give you this dictionary. Right. So he gave me the dictionary. And, in my spare time, I'm flipping through pages. I came across this term called sovereign people. Right? And
now we're getting somewhere.
And so I'm looking at it, and what caught my eye was that they gave a definition, and then they said, see Scott versus Sanford. So I'm looking at it, I'm saying, Scott versus Sanford, this has got to be the Dred Scott decision. So I had the Dred Scott decision, but I don't know how, I was reading it, but all 9 justices wrote opinions in that case, so it was a 240-page case. And so I might have read over it, so I pulled out my Dred Scott decision and got to the part where they mentioned sovereign people. And the definition that they gave in the Black's Law Dictionary was not the definition
that you had.
That was in the
in the